Hello YouTubers. What we have here is a spread of the most common cassettes that you could find. We have Type 1, Type 2, and Type 4. You might be wondering where's Type 3. Type 3 is what they call ferrochrome. It's a layer of Type 1 with a layer of Type 2. It was something that Sony came up with and they tried to push, but it didn't really catch on because it didn't have a whole lot of benefit over the Type 4 tape. So if you do find any Type 3 cassettes, they're kind of rare and obscure, and they're becoming collector's items for the guys that are collecting cassettes. Yes, there's people collecting cassettes. There's people that collect everything in this world. Now moving along. These two are Type 1s, but notice this has a little tab right here. This doesn't. This is the Record Protect notch. When it's present, when it's covered up, you can record on this cassette. When it's not there, that doesn't allow you to record on the cassette. It doesn't let you push the button down on the mechanical ones or on the electronic ones. It just causes it to ignore you. If you have a cassette you want to record on and this has been taken off, all you have to do is put a piece of tape across this part right here. Just cover that up with a little piece of tape, and that'll be enough to get the machine to allow you to record on the tape. Now let's move along to the Type 2. Type 2 is these chrome tapes. By the way, Type 1 is known as a ferric tape. It's nothing more really than finely pulverized rust on a tape background, if you want to get down to the brass tacks of it. But going back over here to the chrome type tapes, this one right here doesn't have the record notch popped out. See, it's still there. The little tab is still there. This one, it's been popped out. But notice there's an additional hole on this side right here. See how this one doesn't have it? This notch is what tells the machine, if you're using a machine that was made sometime in the 80s, like mid-80s on up, this is what tells the machine that you have put a chrome tape in it, a Type 2, is this notch. And what that does is it adjusts the bias. The bias is the frequency and current that goes through the recording system to give you a nice, flat, even sound. If the bias isn't correct for the tape, you'll end up with a recording that's either kind of muddy or a recording that's too bright. So if you have a really old cassette recorder, it'll have a switch, a manual switch, for you to select between Type 1, Type 2, might even do Type 3. Some of the later ones did Type 4, but by that time, machines that did automatic tape sensing were already becoming fairly normal. Now going back to the Type 2 tape here. So this is a Type 1 that you can record on. This is a Type 1 that you can't. You'd have to cover up this notch in order to record on it. This is a Type 2 tape. This one I can record on. This one I can't, unless I cover up the notch. Now you got to be careful when you cover up the Record Protect notch that you don't cover the sense notch that tells the machine that it's a chrome tape. Because if you accidentally cover this notch up, the machine's going to set for the wrong bias and your recordings are going to sound off. Now let's move on to Type 4, metal. These are the most expensive cassettes. They have the most CD-like sound. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm personally a big fan of Type 1. I like cassette for everything it isn't. If I want to listen to CDs, I'll listen to CDs. But some folks like the highs that you can achieve with the Type 4, the metal cassettes. Now notice the Type 4 has an additional pair of notches in the center that these do not have. So it's got this notch here for high bias, and then it's got this notch here to tell it it's a metal type cassette, because metal type tapes can take a hotter signal. You could record on them louder than you can on the other two. The trade-off though is, it all depends on what you like to listen to. If you listen to a lot of classic rock, a lot of stuff with particularly a lot of high energy highs, then this might be your friend. But if you're somebody that likes to listen to old school hip hop, rap, bass, These guys right here have the superior low end compared to the other two. I hope you found this useful. As soon as I find a Type 3 cassette, I'll do a little thing on the Type 3 cassettes to show you about those. So to recap, Type 1, you only have record protect notch. On this one, the record protect notch is covered. This one, it's been opened, so you can't record on this tape unless I cover that hole up. Type 2 has the additional notch, and it has the record protect notch. So there's the record protect notch still present. There it is, knocked out. Type 4 has the additional 2 holes up here at the top, and it's got the high bias notches, and it's got the little record protect notches here. These Type 4s are the most expensive, by the way. So those of you who like to go around hunting into thrift stores and so forth, if you see cassettes with these notches on them on the edges, even if you don't intend on using them, grab them, because they're always the higher priced, and they might serve as trade bait later on with some of the other tape guys. You know, maybe you're not into the metal tapes like me, but people are always willing to trade you other tapes for your metal tapes. So it's good trade bait. Hope you enjoyed this. This has been Tape Lab Miami.